How's it going, super friends? Welcome back to my channel. Today we have before us the brand new wave of DC Essentials action figures. And man oh man, what an awesome wave this is. Finally, we get Hal Jordan alongside Sinestro, as well as the Knightfall Ballant Catwoman, and also a classic looking Knightfall Batman. The box art for these figures is really effective as usual, making use of an individual color to represent each character on top of a solid white. DC collectibles there on the bottom with the name of each character on the top. On the very top of the box you have an image to symbolize each character, a lantern, a Sinestro logo, a kitty cat, and a Knightfall bat. On the left hand side of the box you can see a promo image of each of the figures we'll be unboxing today. On the back of the box you can see an image of the character you're going to be opening along with a short bio and other characters that come in the wave. And the bottom's got all the gobbledygook legal stuff and the barcodes. And that's it. So let's open these guys up. And here we have them all out of the package, the figures, and their okay, never mind. They don't have any accessories. But as for the figures themselves and the character selection, this is a really strong wave. Hal Jordan looks pretty good. I like the fact that the Slender Buck actually kind of suits this figure, and they went with a green kind of sparkly-ish paint rather than just a straight green, and the lantern emblem on his chest looks pretty good too. The face sculpt for Hal is pretty much spot on. I think it captures Fabic's work pretty good, and I love that little cheeky grin on the corner of his mouth there. Sinestro is pretty much as impressive as Hal. The paint apps could be a little bit neater. Some of the lines aren't as crisp as they should be in his mid area and his boots, and his logo is just a little bit, I'm not really sure what's going on there, but overall I think the figure does look good. They went with that sparkly yellow as opposed to a straight yellow, and the face sculpt for Sinestro is one of the best that I've ever seen, so that's a plus. And then we come to Catwoman, who is a really nice looking figure. They made good use of the dough buck, and I like how they have the black boots ending at the thigh cut there. For Catwoman, I really think that these body proportions work out really well with the wider hips and the narrow waist. The face sculpt for Catwoman looks good too. It's expressive and colorful and lifelike, and actually the eyes are painted quite nice for what they are too. And then we come to Batman, who's painted in a nice classic brilliant Batman blue with that evenly toned gray that's not too dark and not too light, with the capsule belt, the trunks on the outside, the bat symbol on the chest, which could be in my opinion painted just a little bit neater, and the cape from the first release of Batman draped over the shoulders with a fantastic, one of the best as far as I'm concerned, Batman head sculpts perched on top of the neck there. I really like this a lot, and I think that it's painted absolutely fantastically. I also really like some of the smaller, finer details that they chose to include with these figures that they could have left out had they have not been paying attention. Like Hal Jordan's Green Lantern ring actually has the lantern symbol right on it, where sometimes that's actually a missed detail. And the same could be said for Thal Sinestro. They actually went to the extent to try and sculpt it properly, and they made sure to not forget the yellow lantern corps symbol right there on his arm. Catwoman's claws could have just as easily been left black rather than painted silver, and true to how Batman was drawn by a lot of artists back then, there's actually no buckle on the front. It's just a straight up rectangle in the middle of his belt. I tell you though, this Batman is just begging for a new cloth goods cape. As for all of their articulation points, they're going to be as follows. Each one has their head resting on top of a ball peg, which as we know for the DC Essentials is on a hinge, giving it a much better range of motion had it have just been on a ball peg. Now while the male characters all have an ab crunch, goes down about that far, and up about that, Catwoman actually just has a ball joint in the torso, and that's something that I actually appreciate a lot more than a simple ab crunch because it actually affords a more natural looking range of motion. They've all got a hinge right up there in the armpits, and do expect Batman's cape to get in the way a little bit, but it's not that bad. And of course we have a bicep swivel on every character, the men and Catwoman, as well as double jointed elbows. And they can all crunch up nicely with Catwoman taking the lead. They've also all got rounded hinges in their wrists as well for roundy, uppy, downy motion. They've also all got a waist swivel, except for Catwoman, which I think is a good idea because it would actually break up the look of her body and just wouldn't look right. They've all got the ball joints in the groin, forward, not much back because their backsides get in the way. They've also all got a thigh cut, nice crunchy double jointed knees, boot cut articulation right there at the tops of the boots below the knee. Even Catwoman, who doesn't really have a boot line to hide it. And yes, all of the males have DC Essentials' regrettable ankle articulation. It's not that the range of motion for these is bad because they pivot and they've got a really great amount of articulation. It's just how stupidly weak they are and how easily your figures fall over and the fact that they click into place in a very unopportune spot. Ugh. But Catwoman actually has the more superior ankles that I'm not sure why they didn't give to the men, that it's simply a hinge with an ankle rocker. Just your basic, usable, steady, tried and tested and true ankle articulation. Why DC Collectibles hasn't gotten the message and switched away from this garbage ankle articulation and moved on to this for all their figures, I have no idea. As for the scale of these guys, here's Batman next to the NECA exclusive and also the McFarlane Toys. The McFarlane Toys has been customized. What did you expect? And then we have a Batman Incorporated from DC Direct on the one side and a Greg Capullo New 52 on the other. And then two customized versions of DC Universe Classic scale blue and gray Batman figures with the oval and the pouch belts. Now, being that this is a Batman figure whose time period could be seen as a little bit ambiguous, you could pose him with either of these two Robins and they would look good with him, or alongside this classic style Nightwing figure, which, as you can see, I haven't really opened yet, so let's open it up. Mini review! Here we have the classic packaging Batman Knightfall red with the Batman logo right there on the top. It's all shattered. Figure on the inside of a classic bubble package. On the back of this packaging, we get to see all the other figures that came in this series, that being Bane, Mask of Tengu, Batman, As-Bats, and oh look, it's another Ballant Catwoman. This fella's been in the box for a long time, and now he's coming out to play. Your twist ties are no match for my clippers, Nightwing. Here's the base and the pegs that go in the little holes. Here's that little throwing disc that he came with. And here's Nightwing. Cool, let's give him a quick toe to head because he's never been in one of my figure reviews before. This figure is actually painted really nice. I like the color scheme, the design and the sculpt looks good. Isn't it neat to note how little articulation this figure has in comparison to what we're used to getting now? He certainly won't be as much fun to pose around, but he's definitely going to look very cool on the shelf next to this Batman. Ponytail Nightwing. It's Ponytail Nightwing. These joints have never been moved. They've been in the package for a long time. Oh, I forgot. These old DC Direct, sometimes they break right out of the package. Nope, no breakage. Very cool. On with the review. And there we have it. Tim Drake and Dick Grayson Nightwing on either side of Batman, as they would have appeared in the comic books contemporary with this storyline that this figure is based off of. Woohoo! And finally, here he is alongside Joker and Soups. And then for Hal, I've got him alongside... you don't get to be in this video. DCUC, you're up. Oh, that one's really dusty. Jeez. Remember, kids, always use a paintbrush to get the dust off your figures. Let's try this again. And then for Hal, first I've got him alongside a DC Direct Justice League America, Comic-Con exclusive, a DC Collectibles New 52, and a DC Universe Classics. But wait, there's more. How about that classic Hal, the animated Hal, a custom Hal, and just for funsies, we have the Hal Jordan from the Superpowers collection. That shot doesn't look even. As for Catwoman, I don't really have any other purple-clad Catwomans to compare her to, so instead, let's bring in the NECA Batman. Oh geez, let's back that up a little. The Nightwing from the same time period, along with the Tim Drake Robin. There we go. There's still a space right here. Let's move Batman over and bring in the Joker. There we go. And for Sinestro, let's try the DC Direct Kilowog, along with the NECA Hal Jordan figure. Clearly, if you wanted to pass up on this Hal, you really could actually just use these two, and they'd look fine together, because he's more slender than Hal Jordan in the comic books, so that would work. That's not the actual head that comes on the body, though. Sorry. That's a DC Direct Classic Icons. And then finally for Sinestro, I brought in the Mattel DC Total Heroes and the DC Universe Classics on the other side. Okay, honestly, these are the only Sinestro figures I have in this suit, so they're the only ones that I could bring out to stand with him. Alright, so now that we've gotten through everything, and I feel satisfied that we've put these under the action figure review microscope enough that I can come to a final conclusion, what exactly would that final conclusion be? As the reviewer, can I suggest these to you in good conscience, or should I say stay away, make a cross with your fingers, douse yourself in holy water and garlic? Are these figures tubular, or are they trash? Well, let's go through everything individually. The paint apps on all these figures is more than acceptable. Sinestro's could be a little bit neater, but in general, they did a very good job with the deco on these. The visual representation of each character these are meant to be sculpted in the image of is absolutely fantastic for all four of them. Each one of these action figures fills a very distinct, much-needed slot I know in my collection. I don't know how many well-articulated 7-inch scale classic-style Batman figures I've got, but this is definitely the top of the list. It's this and the NECA that take the cake for me as far as this scale in this style. Hal Jordan is a much needed character, and we can finally fill that slot in the Justice League as far as DC Essentials go. You know, if they would just make a Martian Manhunter, and a Black Canary, and a Zatanna, and a Green Arrow. We've been through this before. And who doesn't want a highly articulated version of this Catwoman and also Sinestro? I mean, come on. Look at that Sinestro's face. That is such a Sinestro evil, snidey, cheeky grin. And that mustache though. So yeah, I say if you're a fan of the DC Essentials and you've been collecting them, or even if you haven't been and you're just a Batman and Green Lantern universe fan, these are all going to be must-have figures for you. As usual, it's DC Essentials, so don't expect perfection, but these are still very, very good figures, in my opinion. Anyway, super friends, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Hopefully you found this to be a reasonable, useful waste of time for your day. And if you did, you know how the like button works and you know how the subscribe button works if it's your first time here. And if you do subscribe, then you'll become a member of the Super Friends and you will join the DC squad. And with that, I'm outies. Have a fantastic Super DC day, everybody, and take care.